Some stuff's getting passed around, so it's not that kind of party. It's different. Is this a walk and talk kind of situation? I need to. Okay, I'm a walker and a talker. So, hi everyone. I'm Travis Laughlin. I'm the interim executive director at Elsewhere. Anyone been to Elsewhere? Raise your hand. Oh, fantastic. Oh, I'm done. Elsewhere is an incredible place, and as when Lyndon invited me to do this, what's that? Just saw Philip. Just want to say it. Thinking about this idea of regeneration and creating a new journey, I think that Elsewhere is an incredible example of that. And I've worked in the arts field for over 20 years. I worked on a national level, and as I traveled around the country, I would go to lots of different places, meet lots of different artists, and everyone would say, "Oh, you're from North Carolina." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm from North Carolina." Yeah, they're like, "Oh, you know Elsewhere in downtown Greensboro." And I grew up in Ossipee. Who knows where Ossipee is? Oh, good. We'll talk later. Fantastic. I was like, no, there's nothing in downtown Greensboro. Like, I can't even understand. Like, what are you talking about? Like, no, the most amazing museum and artist residency program exists in North Carolina. I moved back a couple of years ago and had the opportunity to begin working at this place. And after visiting it, I realized it is quite a gem. April, you can roll to the next one. Oh wait, well, yeah, we'll stay there. Thank you. I wasn't looking. Yeah. Really scary nightclub, really. I'm very interested in learning about that, by the way. Apparently some really scary or shady things may have happened Elsewhere. So we're like digging into those things. But as I think about like what you said, Paige, sorry, I'm just like stealing from yours totally, like a tiny piece of trash being turned into art. I think about growing up in Ossipee. I grew up incredibly poor. My family was very poor, and being called trash, things of that nature, is quite common. And then I think about like what it might be able to be turned into and what might be able to shift and to change. And I start thinking about the history of Elsewhere, and Elsewhere has a history now, and it is known in the art world, but I think oftentimes we forget about the history of Elsewhere and this woman, Sylvia Gray. And Sylvia Gray is the woman who ran Elsewhere before it was Elsewhere, ran a series of businesses there. She and her husband Joe started a furniture store in 1939, ran a furniture store there until 1955 when Joe suddenly passed away. And Sylvia had 3 children and needed to figure out her new journey. She needed to figure out how to regenerate and to generate income. And to do so began bringing in secondhand and thrift to sell so that she could support her family. And I think about my grandmother, who worked in tobacco fields and was a maid and worked in mills to feed her family, because my grandfather, who was apparently the best mechanic in the Tri-County area, but also a philanderer and a gambler, and really never made a lot of money, so that my mom grew up in a 2-room shack with no running water and no electricity. And this is the home that I visited when I was growing up. And this is the type of poverty that I understood, but also understood the importance of things that are near you, things that are around you, and how you need to repurpose and how you need to regenerate if you're going to survive. And so being able to come to Elsewhere and be connected with this history of Sylvia Gray, who also has a tendency to wear feather boas, and so some of you know I also do too, this really resonated with me. So, flipping. You can go ahead, April. So, I've passed around some things. Where are they? Where are the things? Way back there. Oh, wait, awesome. You're in the dark. What are you holding? A toy crocodile. What does that make you think about? Going to the zoo. Did you enjoy the zoo? Not really. Oh, not a great memory for you. Okay. Yeah, well, there's a lot of reasons to not enjoy going to the zoo, but we can talk about that. Where's the other thing? Oh, there it is. You don't want to talk about it, do you? You just handed that thing right off. It's in your hand now. Do you want to talk about it?
It's a mouse.
It is. It's a mouse? Okay.
Art mouse.
Art mouse. I brought these two things because if you've been to Elsewhere, you know we have a lot of stuff. Elsewhere is about, for me, among other things, memory and what connecting with objects can mean. I've always wanted to be a herpetologist. And so that alligator, crocodile, sits on my desk at Elsewhere. And it reminds me that there's like a love of reptiles that I can't quite explain, but one day I will swim with alligators. That other creature, which terrifies many, 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 many people, is some baby doll that also, I would argue, has some strange hands that I don't quite understand, and a mouse head. But two things that have come together that have been repurposed and have been given new life. And I think that that's a thing that Elsewhere does. Elsewhere is situated in this concept of bringing new life to things that would ultimately be thrown away, memory that would be erased. And this concept of being able to utilize and activate that kind of materiality and to celebrate not only memory, not only what can be created and or recreated, but to also bring a contemporary art practice and celebrate contemporary art practice that is happening here in Greensboro, to bring Greensboro and the central area of North Carolina to the national prominence that Elsewhere has done is so incredibly important. So I want to thank Greensboro for believing in Elsewhere, because I don't know if another place could. So good job, y'all. You're doing a great job. How many more slides we got, April? Let's keep 13.
You want to keep going?
Yeah, keep going. Oh my God, I sent the wrong presentation. You know what? We're just going to close it out right now and just say,
There we go.
yeah, we don't want it. Let's just close it out. I'm going to finish it. I sent the wrong presentation. I did a real great job. And I've got a whole other presentation in my brain. Elsewhere's mission is that with collaborative future, with things and people, we build collaborative futures. With things and people, we build collaborative futures. And I think that Greensboro is an amazing place where that is being actualized, being created, and places like Reconsider Goods, with what's going on with the Greenway, Casa Azul, this space, Greensboro is an amazing generative space, activating resources in a way that I really haven't seen in many communities. So thank you.